Hey guys, Justin here with Roots and Ruins. You might have noticed that since my last video, the channel name has changed, but I felt like it was more fitting towards what I want to do with this channel, and it's a little bit more of a unique name too. Roots, obviously relating to the outdoors and everything I like to do with the outdoors, and Ruins relates to my fascination with abandoned buildings and landscape archaeology and stuff like that. So you'll definitely see a mix of those videos in the future on the channel. So hopefully you guys like that, and we'll find out if you do or not. So today we're out here in the woods. It's raining out. You can probably hear it on the camera, probably see it too. One thing I wanted to show you guys today was what to do if you find yourself turned around or just flat out lost in the woods. It's super easy to do. You may be the best person at knowing your directions, but if you spend all day looking for morel mushrooms, looking down on the ground, or spend all day looking up in the trees for squirrels, there's a good chance that you can get yourself turned around, and the next thing you know, you're spending the night out in the woods. So hopefully this skill can teach you guys a method of getting yourself back to your camp or getting yourself back to the trail. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and we're going to get into it. Alright guys, first things first. Whenever you find yourself in a situation where you are not sure where you are, the best thing you can do is to just stop where you are, take some deep breaths, think about what you're going to do next, and then act on that. The number one thing that puts people in a worse position is panicking. When I was on the fire department, one of the safety officers, he had a saying where he'd be like, "Don't just stand there, smoke a cigarette." And obviously, you're not going to sit there and smoke a cigarette, but he was meaning was, don't just run into the scene without knowing what's going on first. That cigarette gives you time to think about the situation, calm yourself down, and then make a decision after you've had a few moments to think about it. So, once you've done that, we can move on to the next step. So, in my bag here, I got some flagging tape, surveyor flagging tape, or you can see this in the logging industry as well. It's good for marking trees, trails, whatever you want to do with it. But it's going to be perfect for this situation because right now what we need to do is set up a base camp where our position is right now. And so the best way of doing that is to mark it with flagging tape. So take a couple strands off here, tie them up in your tree. Just do a loose tie. You don't need to tie them up super high. Take a couple of them because you're going to want to be able to see this from a distance here. There's a couple strands here. You want to make sure you can see them about 365 degrees, from all angles. You don't want to be hidden behind a large tree or anything like that. And basically what we're doing is we're laying out breadcrumbs in straight directions off of our central point here. And so I have no idea which way to go, but I at least know that this right here is a static spot that I can always come back to and then work off into another direction, trying to find the trail. One thing to think about when you're doing this is get a good idea how far you walked when you came into the woods to begin with. If you think you only walked in, 500-600 feet, remember that. And when you're walking in a straight direction out from your base point here, you can get a good gauge of where you need to stop and turn around. So right now we got our base point here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a direction that seems like a decent place to travel, and we're going to go in that direction and see where it takes us. So I'm going to go off this direction here. So one thing that we do as we're walking out a distance from our central point is we want to keep an eye on the flags that we laid, or the bandana or whatever, as we're traveling. So right now the woods is starting to get a little dense. The flags back there are starting to become a little bit more difficult to see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another flag, tear it off, hang it up. And that way, from here to here, this is, charted ground. And from this point forward, I can keep moving and keep an eye on this flag. That way, when I get further out, if I have to come back to that central point, I have this flag as a breadcrumb back to my central point. So we're going to keep going forward here. All right, so I walked about 500 feet, which is roughly how far I walked into the woods. And as you can see, there's nothing really here. I can look out just a few, 20, 30 feet further, and I don't see a trail. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow my markers back to the central point, and then we're going to go from there on a different direction to see if that leads us anywhere. We'll move through the woods here. It's pretty dense, but we're going to keep an eye on our markers over there. So made it back to our first marker, or our second marker, and we're a little distance away from our first marker. I just wanted to show you guys I am removing these. Try to follow those leave no trace principles as strictly as possible. So all right, we're back to our central point here. As you can see, the double flag. We went out in that direction, didn't really work out for us, so we're back here. We're going to set another course out this direction here and see if that leads us anywhere. If it gets thick again, we'll lay down more flags and breadcrumb our way out, and then pick those breadcrumbs as we come back. So let's start heading that way. All right, guys, looks like we made it out. So as you saw, it's a very simple but effective way to get yourself out of a sticky situation such as being lost in the woods. Now, if you were, bushwhacking for miles and miles and you've been way off trail for a good part of a day, I mean, you can use it, but you may not find the original trail you were on. You may use that skill to be able to find other ways to get yourself back on track and out of the woods. But if you just went straight off trail to go, use the bathroom or, go search for some mushrooms, this is an effective way to get yourself back on that trail and not having to panic and spend a night in the woods. So hopefully today you learned something from this video, and I'm going to be delivering a lot more videos here in the future, and I really appreciate all the people that have supported me so far, and I'm planning on giving you guys a lot more. So thanks for tagging along, and I'll catch you on the next one.